You are listening to the We Are West Ham podcast with me, James Jones, and Tom Edwards. No Will this week, as you know, but for the opposition view this week, we're joined by Matt from Wolves FanCast. Obviously, Wolves kind of swapped places with West Ham this season, obviously on the back of two seventh place finishes. I mean, us sort of struggling against relegation for a couple of seasons, but the table seems to have turned between us and Wolves. See a thumping win at London Stadium earlier this season, 4-0, unexpected victory. But Matt, thanks for joining us.
Welcome, guys. Hello.
The season's not really gone as planned, is it? Obviously, on the back of two really, really strong seasons, and then quite a lot of business in the summer, and then obviously the injury to Jimenez, but not really what you were expecting, was it?
Not really. I mean, we had kind of been spoilt up to this point in this Premier League campaigns. The ones prior to this season have been an absolute dream. Getting into Europe, going far in that competition, some real highs, a double against City. You dream of this kind of stuff as you come up, but no, this season hasn't gone quite as expected. You mentioned recruitment. We've spent money, but it hasn't been in necessarily the right areas. You'd be surprised at how many players that are still playing in our 11 that we had in the Championship. And at this level, if you don't, adapt or die, isn't it? If you don't improve in the key areas, you will slip down the table.
Matt, how the Jimenez injury is obviously front page news for a while, and rightly so. I mean, everyone from us forever is wished the best for him, and I can't wait to see him back out personally. But how much do you think that affected your season? Because he is the main man. Let's get rid of it. He is the go-to man. He's the one who gets your goals. How much do you think not only his injury, but the manner of the injury affected your squad going forward? Because you had a bit of a tough run after that, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, I mean, it affected us massively, and it's done it in a few reasons. One, he's our head and shoulders our main goal scoring threat, and a huge percentage of our goals came through him. There's one. But two, he's very much the focal point in an attack, in like a target man kind of role.
Yeah.
So then you start playing players like Pedro Neto, like Adama Traore, fantastic, quick, technically skillful players. They're not out-and-out goal scorers, they're chance creators. And we've really struggled by not having that one focal point at the front of the pitch to be able to put those chances away. And that's where we've really struggled. So it's kind of twofold for us, really. Willian Jose, we've brought in, hasn't really fit the criteria of what we needed so far. And then we never would have dreamt about putting in a kid like Fabio Silva, price tag or not. He was never expected to be playing as many games as he had at this stage of his career.
Matt, one other player that you've had a lot of attacking threat from over the last couple of years is Adama Traore. Another player that's sort of really struggled this season to sort of produce the threat and the numbers that he has done, and that we're kind of almost used to seeing him provide. What's been the story there? Is it just is it just a case of he had 1 or 1.5 strong seasons, and then kind of was he overperforming, or is it this season he's just struggled?
It's a tough one because he's never really staked a claim in a team long enough for success. I mean, he has dotted around clubs, and I think he's yet to find his style of play that, I used the phrase on the podcast before in the more heated discussions when I say a broken clock is right twice a day. You can, if you just run at people, you will get past them eventually, and, you will get that ball in, and, it'll be great. But it's not for want of trying. There's nothing wrong with his effort. There's nothing wrong with his determination, but sometimes his decision-making has, he zigged when he should have zagged. I don't think, again, not having someone like Jimenez up front, for him to have a target to play at, hasn't helped his game at all, because when Jimenez was in the squad, Traore played much better because he's got a target man to get the ball to. With Fabio Silva, he's not that man, and Willian Jose looks lost at sea at times.
Matt, looking ahead, as much as it's not been the season you envisaged and the season that your squad potentially could have achieved, you still got Fulham, Sheffield United, Burnley and Fulham to play. Is there any chance that you might have a sniff at infiltrating the top 10 or top 8 potentially because of how tight it all is? What are you looking for the next 9 to 10 games now? What sort of do you want from the Wolves boys?
I mean, if we take your game out of consideration, which for the majority of us we are doing, not as a free hit, but taking that realistically out of the equation. Out of those teams you've mentioned, you've got to be looking at least 9 points. At least 9. I mean, there'd be something wrong with us if by that point we can't get a result away from Sheffield United. And I mean, it was rabid when we lost to Albion the first time round. If it happens again, it won't be worth doing a podcast, to be fair. I'd be looking at 9 points. We've got to be aiming for at least that to get, just get us over the line with a bit of momentum. I mean, this break we've had now is as long, I think, as a pre-season that we had going into this season with our previous campaign. So it would just be great to get to a pre-season, to be honest. I know that sounds defeatist and a little bit, resigned, but it's one of those things.
Yeah, looking ahead to Monday's game then, Matt. See, I've already mentioned the result at London Stadium earlier this season, which I think shocked both sets of fans, and probably both sets of players as well. Given the fact that we, up until that point, we'd struggled we hadn't even scored against you since you returned to the Premier League up to that point, and then we banged 4 in one game. With that in mind, and given the form that we've been in, and don't get me wrong, we're still surprised at how well we've done this season. How do you see this game going?
I mean, it's not what I'm looking forward to, truth be told. I've been really, really impressed with the way you guys have been playing this season, and it's not a fluke. You've got some really excellent players in that squad. Souček. I mean, I've been following Antonio since he's been at Forest, because my friend being a Forest fan who's always rated him anyway. Bowen was fantastic when he played in the first fixture. You've got some really great players there, and I think I don't want to insult you by saying that you're saying underperforming over the last few seasons, but I think we're starting to see what West Ham should be producing with the players you've got, and a manager, like him or lump him, is in that upper, at least top half of the table consistently with the teams that he's with. So I'm not surprised where you guys are from a positional point of view. I think it'll be tough for us, but I think the break came at a really good time for us to be able to kind of bed in some of the ideas. I wouldn't be surprised if we drew, but I also wouldn't be surprised if we took a shellacking at the same time.
What sort of Wolves can West Ham expect to come up against? Is it going to be typical Nuno's Wolves, or is it going to be, given the fact that you've had a couple of weeks break? I
think Nuno ball as we know it, not a lot of chances created for either side. I mean, depending on who you speak to, he's in some circles known as the Portuguese Pulis. It's not as attractive a football as it could be on times. I think it will be an organised performance from us in which we don't make many errors. A lot of our goals we've conceded have been unforced errors. It's not for want of amazing trickery or superb technique. It's our own downfall a lot of the times, and I don't expect us to create a lot of chances. We're really quite low on the expected goals tally, but the chances that we do create, we tend to score. I think it'll be I don't think it'll be one for an end of season DVD, put it that way.
Okay, well, I'm going to put you on a spot here. Let's have a score prediction ahead of Monday night's game at Molineux.
I'm going to go a hopeful score draw 1-1 with a Willy Bolly header to even it up, as he's just scored today.
Nice. I think you're the first Opposition View guest that's come on for a long time that's not predicted their team to win, and instead just gone almost sat on the fence a little bit. So yeah, I mean, I'd be quite happy with the point. Tom, what do you think?
Sadly, I said it earlier. I think we might draw. I think we've always struggled at. We got a history of struggling. I think it might be a 2-2. I'll go a little bit more ambitious, but I think 2-2. I do think they're a good side, and they've shown a little bit less than they have got this season. So 2-2.
I mean, I say I'd be happy with the point, but I think it's so important that we can keep our momentum up for our chase for the top 6. And so I'm going to kind of follow with my Betway bet as well. I'm going to go for a 1-0 West Ham win. Incredibly unlikely given our defenders keep scoring on goals at the moment, but I do fancy a 1-0 win. So, Matt, thanks so much for joining us this week.
No problem.
And good luck to Wolves for the rest of the season beyond Monday night, obviously.
Of course. You too, guys. Thanks a lot for having me.